sorry about the delay. I have no idea what that was about. It would not, for the life of it, connect to YouTube. I have no idea what that was about. So, here we are, back at the table, another Pep Tuesday, an entire week of brutal sickness under my belt. How's everybody doing? Tonight we are going to be... Ooh, I'm gonna brighten that puppy up. Can't see anything. There we go. Tonight we're going to be looking at some questions and some interesting things that people have been asking me, frequently asked questions, and just all sorts of stuff along that vein. So to that end, we are definitely going to take a look at some questions and see what we can do to answer those questions. Because, at their core, these are educational streams. I like doing this stuff so people can learn more. I am feeling a lot better. My throat is a little dry still, but I'm no longer hacking 24/7 and dizzy and whatnot. So we're gonna be attacking it. So what I have behind me here, this is default Pepakura. I think the only thing that I've changed is I believe I went into settings, and because I am the way I am, I went advanced, and where is it? Oh, maybe it's not advanced, maybe it's in other. It's in other. I reverse zoom direction, because when I use my scroll wheel, it makes more sense for me to have it reversed from the way Pepakura has it standard. So that's just me. So let's go right ahead. Oh, hey there, Mama. How you doing? So let's go ahead and we will dive in. Let's open up a random model here. Let's see. We were working on this last week. We finished a lot of stuff. Oh, you know what? I am going to go to my drive and tell you what. We're going to go to our troop buckets. And let's take out... I just actually finished up. This was the whole dealio for this particular stream, is I was releasing this here set of templates. This is an airborne clone trooper. It also works for a purge trooper, but I was really quite happy with the way these templates turned out. A lot of simplification went into this, but this will also be a really great piece for us to talk about some of the finer details of Pepakura and answer some of these fun questions. So, let's dive right in. I'd say the one I get the most, and that I definitely got when asking for this video, is I had somebody ask how I change my backgrounds in Pepakura. And this is not super important for, building or anything like that, but it is very fun, and I don't know, for me, it helps me differentiate different projects that I'm working on at the time. So let's go. We go into settings. We got the file menus up here. We'll go to settings, go to other settings, and then under color here, we're going to go and we can see everything in here. We can see if you choose to, you can set your visual to differentiate mountain and valley edges and single-sided edges and open edges in different colors. I usually just render them all in black because I find that to be very distracting and kind of disorienting normally. But you can adjust them to whatever color you like, whatever color makes sense to you. But more to the point, you'll note we have background of model window top and background of model window bottom. And to that end, we can make it whatever we want. Let's say we want the top to be a light pink, and we want the bottom to be brown, because those are colors that definitely go together. And so we we render a very, very colorful background here. I'll kind of move the model up here so you can see it a little better. Yeah, so this is I'd say one of the easier things to do in Pepakura. It in no way affects the model, but I find it's fun and pretty useful for me just for differentiating things. Let's actually, I will say shorthand, I try to do a lighter color on top because I think people just sort of generally respond to that better. It kind of looks like a sunset. A little, although let's say I wanted to actually do a sunset. I think I'd do like blue on top with like a warm sort of pink tone on the bottom. Now, see, now it just looks like cotton candy. I don't even know. Use to chroma key other backgrounds in post. It can, and I have done that, actually. So several of my videos, let me see here. Oh, nope. We're going to go... Wait, what? That's weird. Sorry. Let's go in here. Let's actually go, and you can go in, and when I want to have a Pepakura asset appear in other media, I will usually set both sets to green, like this, and you can, in fact, chroma key in the background. And I want to say I've done this in a couple of recent videos. Let me see here. Let me see. Oh, I know what video has it. Hang on. Hang on. My most popular video by far, Captain Rex. If I go near the end, I chroma keyed in... Let's see here. Hang on. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. I chroma keyed in the my Phase 2 Clone Trooper helmet bucket. You can actually see it right here. Yeah, there it is. So that's actually just a green screen asset that I took. I recorded of me just spinning my pet model, and then I green screened it out. And it's pretty easy to do. It's fun. It's an easy way to add a little bit of spice if you're ever trying to explain something in a video. But it's a pretty open tool. I'm going to change this away from the green just because I find the green to be really, really annoying to look at. So let's go there, and we'll make this like a deep blue. Yeah, much more mellow. I like it. So, from there, let's answer some more questions. And by the way, if you guys have any questions yourselves, please feel free to ask them. I would really love to be able to help you guys out. Let's see. Jeff Allen over on Facebook asks, how do you custom select areas on the 3D model to print out as one group? Sometimes Pepakura is silly in determining how it wants to disassemble the 3D model. So this is something that we do a lot on stream, actually. Good evening, Matthias. Thanks for joining us. This is something we do a ton on stream. We do a ton of live unfolds on stream. And let's see. I bet you I still have something that could probably work as a decent... Nope, that's not going to work. Oh, you know what? Actually, I do know how I can do this. Hang on. When we're going through... the process of unfolding a model, we usually start in the 3D menu and we work to the 2D menu. The reason we do this is because it saves us a lot of time in the long run. I could just randomly unfold a model, it'll try to put the whole thing into one piece, it'll look weird, or I can sort of break up the shapes. Now, I break up the shapes based on lots of different things, including experience. Like, I know a way that breaks down domes and big sweeping curved shapes that works really well for me, and I've detailed that a lot on this channel, so I'm not going to dive super deep into that right now. Good evening, Melina. But I will say the way we do this, and the easiest way for me to understand it, I'll show you here. Let's undo this unfold, but we're going to apply the open edge info to the 3D model. What that means is it's going to say, okay, so all the lines that are open in the 2D template as it is right now, we're going to put that on the 3D model. So check this out. There it is. So this is all of the tiny little breaks in the model. All of them are those little orange lines. Now, when I go through and I do this, I don't break it down quite so detailed. What I actually do, let's open this back up. What I actually do is this. Oh, hello. What? That's super weird. Okay, well, that's a terrible example. Let's see. Oh, here. This is the Death Trooper templates that I recently put out on our Etsy. I do something like this, where I sort of break up the shapes along where I think it's going to work out in the 2D window. So in this particular case, what I went through is I did sort of a dome shape, broke it down the back. So you can see where the big sweeping shapes occur. And then once I put it in the 2D window, I tweak it bit by bit by bit. Because you'll note, if I click on fold on this right now, sure, 21 inches tall. This helmet is 21 inches tall. Amazing. You'll see it does create the shape, but that shape is just a little bit wonky. And of course, it doesn't split up properly. So we go in and we tweak just a little bit as we go along. These things are things you'll learn over time. They're not necessarily... there's not necessarily harsh rules that guide it. Let's see. Somebody's dropping in the chat. Video game guy, you were up until 1 a.m. trying to dig up some Phase 2 foam armor files because of Fearfix RPF thread being locked down. I didn't find any normal Phase 2 armor, but I found a Marine. I have Phase 2 armor for sale over on my Etsy store, actually. There's a link down below. It's pretty cheap. I think it's like $8. Goes towards the channel, if you feel like it. Otherwise, you know, I know there's a lot of really great, talented makers out there. Riser does have templates. They're just not Pepakura files, so they're kind of hard to scale sometimes, in my opinion. These are the things. How do you trace the pieces individually? Diabolical props. Are you talking about the 3D window or the 2D window, or are you talking about how I trace them once they're printed? That is what we'd like to know. And in the meantime, we're going to pop back over to our Facebook, where I know we've got some more questions. Let's see here. Is it possible to add vertices or triangles to the model in Pepakura? Or do all the panels have to be designed outside of Pepakura and then imported in? This is a great question. Good news is you don't have to go to another model to add edges, vertices, triangles, etc. to Pepakura. The bad news is because it's not designed for that, it can be kind of difficult. Let me show you what I mean. Let's go back here. We'll undo all this stuff again, and we'll just reset all our cut line edges. So this is like a blank model. This is if I just imported the model straight into Pepakura. So let's see here. Let's say for some reason I really want a vertex, a vertice, right there. Now, I think the easiest way to do it is go to Edit Mode under the 3D menu, and we go under Specify Cut Line Edges. Underneath Subdivide Edges, we hit Edit Model. Now we have, what is that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tools here. They are limited in scope, but they do several different things. So, let's go in here. I'm not going to move a vertex. I could, if, say, I wanted the vertex right here, just scoot it back there. Now, I don't think that's super useful. I think that's a little counterintuitive to the way the model is shaped. I cannot swap an edge to get it there, but what I could do is I could divide the edge right here. So if I divide this edge like that, you'll note it does a couple different things. First, it creates triangles as it tries to compensate for those shapes and create those edges. But what it does is it splits it roughly in the center of the overall shape, and it creates a new vertex right there. And of course, I've also got these edges here. Now, if I don't like the way this is spreading out, I can actually swap these edges. So on models that have triangles, not quads, but triangles, so I've got a triangle here, a triangle here, I could say I actually want to make a triangle going this way, and I swap this edge, and now it's over there. And I actually like that a little bit more. If I needed a point right there, I'd kind of want this to kind of all converge in one sort of space there, and that's how I'd get there. Yeah, no, video game guy, like I said, I totally understand not being into Riser's more Clone Wars style. I would definitely plug myself again and just say I have a pretty decent set of Phase 2 Clone Trooper, realistic Phase 2 Clone Trooper templates on my Etsy. Just saying. Let's see here. Okay, so yeah, you can add vertexes. There's no tool to just click on the model and add a vertex, but you know, there are tools to make that happen. Actually, is there anything I didn't cover in here? Oh, we can split quad. So instead of just dividing an edge, if I just want to like cut through a quad, I can split quad, turn that into triangles. I can also delete edges. Deleting edges is kind of a pain in the butt, but you can see how it does pretty cleanly work over an edge, and it will prevent you from deleting edges if it thinks that it's going to be unable to resolve it. So like, if I just keep editing here until it doesn't make sense, at some point it's going to freak out on me and crash. because it's not a modeling program, even though it does some modeling features. So let's open that back up. Here we go. Oop. Downloads. There we go. There we are. We got our model back now. Let's see. Okay, so how do you trace pieces individually in the 3D window? So this is pretty simple. All we're going to do is I'll get us back to just a 3D model here. Let's reset the model view, reset all our cut line edges. This is if I just imported the model again. So when we're tracing edges, we have two main options. We're going to go to edit mode under the 3D menu. We're going to click specify cut line edges. What that means is we are going down and we are going through here and specifying which edges that the computer is going to try to flatten out over in the 2D menu. Those are the edges that's going to separate along. Now, to trace those out, we can do it edge by edge, and I used to do this a lot more, and it's still important for a lot of things. Or, in recent editions, you can go to 3D menu, go to, edge selecting, there it is. Edges between 2 points, and now you'll note it's focusing on all the vertices. And if we click on one vertice, say here, and a vertice at the top, it will draw a line between those 2 points, which, as you can imagine, saves us a ton of time. Now, is this tool perfect as well? No. But it is a lot faster than a lot of other things. One thing I do find a little fiddly with this is it will try, it'll try to basically go through and create sort of the shortest line between 2 points. So let's say I wanted to go from here to here. Usually what it'll try to do... Oh, it didn't that time. That's very nice. But let's say I wanted to create a line from... let's say, for some reason, I wanted to create a line that went up, over, down to this edge. What it's actually going to do is draw a line between there and there. So if I want to draw lines up and over the top, I'll have to instead draw, say, a line from there to there, here to here, all the way down to there to there. So it's a little fiddly. It's not quite intuitive. Hello there, Daniel. Hello, hello. Hello, everybody. You want me to explode the helmet? What? Oh, well, actually, there's something I can do here. So if I go... No, I don't want to save because I want the full templates. So if I have completely unfolded a model... Now, the way we unfold does do some weird things to it, but I'm trying to remember. I think, yes, there's a folding and unfolding animation in the 3D menu. So this is what it looks like roughly flat. And you can see it's trying to reconcile all of the adjoining that we've done over here. And it's having a rough time of it. But if we play from there to there, it'll put those parts together. And you can see in 3D space how all these parts sitting down in the 2D menu sort of rest if they're all just 3D parts sitting over here. And then it'll do something really fun here. We press play, and zoop, there it is. That's how the helmet goes together. Pretty crazy, huh? And you can kind of widget together, see where things push together. It's so funny to see everything fly in from way far away because I hide all the parts that we don't need way, way, way far away. So we can instead just see them fly very, very quickly in, which I think is extremely funny. Yeah, and these are all just features that Pepakura has. I think this can be very useful for some people in helping to see how the various parts fit together and where they all sit. But I don't use it a ton, to be honest. It's just because I'm so stone cold awesome. I do this a lot. Oh. Let's see here. I know we had some other questions the other day. Oh, here's one that came up a bit. So this is something you have to do in the 3D menu before we get to the 2D menus. Let's see here. We're going to undo this unfold. Not going to apply the edges. I'm going to reset all the cut line edges. Let's say I have a texture file on my model like I do now. You can actually see that if I don't set materials to faces, it all just becomes that stock white. which is still pretty easy to see everything. Indeed, you could go to View Setup, hit Shade, and it'll show you even more detail there. And that's just the way it be. But if we say had our texture in here, and let's say I had accidentally inserted the texture upside down, it might go on and look a little funky like this. So instead what we do is we go to the 3D menu, we go to Change Coordinates, and I can change the U coordinate and the V coordinates of these textures. So let's say I want to invert the V here. There we go. It looks like that got it all straightened back out. So in this case, it was flipped this way when it should have been right way this way. And that's just something that happens occasionally when you're trying to put a texture on a model. It can be a little bit of a rough way to apply texture in Pepakura, but it usually just requires a little bit of woodging. Also, something I discovered recently that I have only done a couple of times now. But let's say you have completely unfolded your model. Let's say it looks like this. And not only do I have all those pieces, but I have all of these pieces on here as well. Before I finish my unfold, if I wanted to, say, create a texture for this, I can. Now, this is very messy, but I can go to File, Export, Texture Editing. I can export not a JPEG, a bitmap file to edit into a new JPEG for texture. So, to wit, if I go map image for texture, yes, it will reset the texture, but I will be left with, where is it? Ta-da! An image. Here, it's kind of hard to see. This is very faint. An image of all of those pieces sort of laid out as they were. And what's really fun is you can put this in Paint. You can put it into Photoshop. And if you're really artsy like me, you can just sort of paint over the parts that you want to be a different color. And then when you reapply it, those textures will wrap perfectly onto your model, which is super fun. Let's see. Let's reset this guy again. I'm seeing questions in the chat. No, I don't want to save that. There we go. How do you add registration marks? So, not all models can have registration marks the way I do them. There is no tool in Pepakura. It's not Photoshop. You know, I can't just add a bunch of stuff over on the right-hand side here. It all sort of has to come from the 2D menu. The only things I can add are images that do not rotate. So if I wanted, oh, hello. Hello? Uh-oh. I think we have a crash. Uh-oh. My bad. That's okay. Like I said, it's not really designed to do what I just did it to do. But let's see. Oh, here's a snow trooper. That's not what I wanted. I want to go to Downloads. I want to open this. And I wanted to insert an image. Let's find a small image. Here's a small image. You can't rotate this image. You can only just insert an image. So if you have like a logo, you can put that in there. But you can't add a registration mark this way. It won't really work. You can add text, but again, you can't rotate it. So this is text. You can add text if you want to make something clearer in your model. But again, you can't rotate it, so there's no way to turn that into a registration mark. So instead, what I do is I go into the Set Edge Color tool, and you can click all these filters. Let's say I want my registration marks to be blue, bright blue for a moment. I'm going to click Paint, and then we're going to go in, and all those lines that we've hidden, we're going to go back, and we're going to just paint back in the ones we want to use as registration marks. So let's say we want this to kind of join together there and there. There and, what is it, right there? Nope, not quite. I'm checking in the 3D model. It's not quite lining up. Let's see, we want that one, and then this one and that one. There we go, and I'd say that's probably good enough for registration. That's how I add registration marks in Pepakura. You can add them to all sorts of pieces. It doesn't just have to be pieces that go together exactly like that. Two different pieces can get registration marks. Let's see, this goes together right here. There's that line right there that I just painted in right here. lines up there and there, and then it lines up with this piece right here. So let's grab, oop, not quite, that right there. And now there's a registration mark between those two guys. And that's super easy to put together like that if you want. I will be perfectly honest. I tend to use fewer registration marks when I'm using Pepakura. I tend to just sort of trust it. I join edges together first, and then I join curves together from the center and then sort of work my way out. That's just the way I work. Registration marks are super easy to add. And you can do this in the free version of Pepakura as well. You do not need to buy it for this. Let's see here. What's the best way to measure armor and helmets? I think the easiest way to answer this is with another video that I have. I definitely did a live stream on how to scale a Dr. Fate helmet, but here's the best advice I can give you. Pepakura does not scale in just one direction, it scales overall. So it scales at a ratio in which everything increases or decreases at once, which means you need to scale it roughly to your largest dimension, whether that is width, height, or length. To that end, let's say you have a very, very long head. If you don't scale to that, if you scale to just, say, the width of your head, you're going to end up with a helmet that is too short for your head. You need to go for the longest length on that, and then tweak to make sure that it's not overly large on the whole. Sometimes that means padding up. Sometimes that means you need to do a little bit of freehand. I know people who can't really wear clone trooper armor because the way they want it to look isn't the way their bodies look. And that is just the way that is. There is no way to turn yourself into the cartoon if you don't look like a cartoon person. Does that make sense? Let's see here. Looking to use your Captain Rex helmet, what scaling would I need for a 23-inch head? Okay, let me see if I've got my Rex nearby. I would love to try to help with this, because we can at least get close to what you're describing. I know what you're describing. What you're describing is that your head is 23 inches around. Pepakura doesn't really scale in that direction. There are programs that do scale that way. Pepakura is not really one of them. So this is my Captain Rex helmet. This is one of the earlier templates that I made for the channel. I'm still pretty happy with it. There's definitely a couple things I might change about it now that I've been doing this a little bit more. But I do like it quite a bit. Now, let's say that you have, as we said, a 23-inch head. The good news is that, unlike some helmets, this helmet does have a piece that sort of wraps all the way around the head. So it's a single unbroken piece, which is this part right here. Wraps almost the entire way around the head. Actually, wait. No, I'm looking at it. It does wrap all the way around the head. I was just mistaken there. So it wraps all the way around the head, which means that we can use that to sort of roughly scale to what you're describing. So let's go to the 2D menu, edit mode, and down under here, it has no key command, but we can measure distance between 2 points. Let's grab from here in the 2D menu all the way down to here. That says that it is 28 inches right now. I would say this is probably pretty close to the scale you want already, because there is a slight difference between how thick this is going, how wide this is going to be with foam versus without. So you probably want it to be a little bit bigger. I would say this is probably about as big as you want it to be. And if I were to, say, measure from, let's say, the interface here, from side to side, just to see if I can get a rough measurement of how wide this helmet is. Yeah, it looks like 8 inches across, which is pretty good for most people. I have about a 7-inch across head, which means that 8 inches across is going to be very comfy and have room for the thickness of the foam itself. As is, this is probably a pretty good scale for you. Let's see. Import your 2D templates into Inkscape and use the line tool to add registration marks. You absolutely can. There is a way, if you choose to use this as an image. Let's say I wish to edit this model as a whole, but not using Pepakura, using like a 2D software like Photoshop, like Illustrator, or a free something like Inkscape. What we can do is we can go to File, Export. I can actually export this. I can export this as a read-only Pepakura file. I can export it to Pepakura 3 if some of you are still using Pepakura 3. I can also export it in vector format or as a bitmap. Now, I would probably go for a bitmap, just because that's going to be pretty easy. Looks like in total it's 20,000 pixels by another 20,000 pixels, basically. So let's click OK. And now, look, it looks like it's being divided into 5 by 5 files. And now when I go to open up that model, where is it? It has exported it into just a ton of bitmap files. Let's see, here's... Whoop. Oh wow, this has really broken it up in a way that I didn't want. Oh no, this is way too many files. Hang on. We're going to try that again. Instead of that, we're going to click File, Export. Pay no mind to that omission. Let's try vector format instead. Let's try... Oh, bitmap per sheet. That makes way more sense. Here we go. There we go. That now it's by sheet. That makes way more sense now. There we go. So you could instead now edit these with any kind of photo editing software. You could even draw on this using just photos. Here, look, we'll just draw. I want to make a mark right there, and right there, and right there. You could print this if you chose. And now you get registration marks. Boom. Bada bing. Or if you're going to go through and do it like that, you could also just draw it on the paper templates. I mean, sometimes you're reinventing the wheel. I'll say that. Let's see. When can we expect this file to be up, by the way? Are you talking about Rex, or are you talking about the Airborne Trooper? Because the Airborne Trooper is actually already in our Trooper file. That's right. Down below, there's a link to all of our free Trooper buckets already, and this guy has been added to it as well. So feel free to check that out, and check out all of our Trooper bucket templates. A lot of them are free. Most of everything in that folder is free. I also have some templates on my Etsy store if you'd like to support the channel that way as well. Let's see. How do you scale helmets to fit your head? Helmets always seem to be the hardest for me. So like I said, scaling for an overall dimension is, I think, very important. And scaling for your largest dimension is even more important because it's got to fit whatever the biggest way you are is. To wit, so here's a great example. We went through, and one of my groomsmen recently put together this red hood, which I'm really excited about. We're just wrapping up on it. But this thing, for me, doesn't really fit front to back. You can see my head really hangs out. So if I were to scale it up, even though this fits very well side to side, I would scale it up just a little bit and then probably pad out the sides so that it fits me front to back. And that's kind of the deal. We actually go to 2D menu, change scale, set scale, and I can see the height, width, and depth of this model. And if you're confused about which one that is, you can actually go to the 3D menu, go to show dimension lines, click on that there, and it'll tell you which one's which. Look, front to back, it looks like it's 12.16 inches, top to bottom, 14.37, and side to side, 11.87. There you are. That's what you got. That's the everything. And this can be a little more difficult for some helmets versus others. Say, the overall height of this helmet isn't as useful because, of course, we have a rangefinder in view, so that's going to change the overall height of your helmet. Versus something like Hunter's helmet, which has no rangefinder, and basically this just has to go from just over the head to just under the chin. It's going to be a little different helmet to helmet, but thankfully I have other videos on scaling, and there's a lot of really good tutorials out there if mine don't work for you. Let's see here. Oh, here's a great question I get asked a lot. As people ask me how my Pepakura is in inches and not millimeters, because the base setting is in millimeters. So if I go to, pretty sure it's in settings, unit of length, I clicked away from millimeters to inches. It's that simple. If you're like me, this is the way to do it. It's a lot easier for you. Let's see here. See, if model has a mohawk-like piece, how can you build the helmet fully, then add the mohawk on top of it instead of adding tabs to be glue on top of. Okay, I think I know what you're describing. You are describing, and actually I'm going to grab my Fordo helmet for this. You are describing how some Pepakura templates, rather than having a piece on top and a complete dome, will be hollow on the inside. There'll be an empty space where that fin is supposed to go. And there's nothing for it to glue onto, so you have to leave tabs instead. Right, Melina? I just want to make sure I'm answering the right question, because I think I know what you're describing. And I also want to apologize in advance, because if it's the question I think you're asking, it's not going to be a fun answer, and I'm very sorry. Let's see here. I'll hang out. I'll try to illustrate better for those of you watching. I believe what she's describing is how, unlike this bucket where there's a complete dome piece, there's no gap to it, and there's a completely extra piece that goes on top of it. Some buckets are, say, empty under there. Let's see if I have a good example. Is this a good example? Yes, this is a good example. This ARC Trooper, for instance, has a fin going across the top. But rather than being complete on the inside, if I zoom way in, you can see up on the top there's a gap. There's a fin-sized gap on the inside because it's hollow in there. There is no way in Pepakura to complete that gap. Now, there's a lot of ways you could widget or freehand it really, really easily. For instance, you see this helmet piece right here. You see the gap it's got missing right there. See how it's almost a perfect line? And all you would need to do is cut it as a perfect line up here. That's really all you'd need to do on something like this. Something a bit more complicated might be a bit more difficult. There's not a great way to fix that because there's no data there, right? So I would say, where possible, I like to produce models that have underfaces. It's not always going to make the most sense, and sometimes it can be really complicated if you do it. But there's not really a way to do it in Pepakura. You could say, take this into Blender, slice off the top here, and then click on all those vertices and join it together. But there's not really a way to fix that. And some of this is also a remnant of the way Pepakura is supposed to work. I think it's really important to understand that. Pepakura is not designed to make foam patterns, and it's not designed for solid construction. It's designed to, as gracefully as possible, fold together paper, printer paper, into extremely complex geodesic shapes. Like, for instance, if I were to undo this unfold, I don't want to apply the open edge. This is just the way I had it initially. Let's say we'll unfold this as is, place the parts avoiding the edge. There's all the lines and all the joints. This is basically a paper template right here. We could make it cleaner if we want, but we would add flaps to it. And just like that, you could build this model out of paper. It would be totally hollow, and you could either leave it as paper, or you could do something like fill it with resin or foam, like spray foam, like expanding foam, and create a solid piece. You could do whatever you want with that. But that's not really what we do here. And so it's trying to create a hollow shell just with texture. And there's not a great way to fix that in Pepakura. I have had some success changing certain small details in Pepakura before. I'd actually really like, let me see if I can find this. Here we go. So here's a great example. This is a Bo-Katan helmet that I modified slightly. It used to have a significant lip at the front. Now it's only got that lip at the back. And the way we do this is actually we go to, I'm going to undo this unfold real quick because I have to do this in the 3D menu. We go to 3D menu, edit mode, edit model, and then I'm going to go to delete edge. Now, I want to delete this lip here. And counterintuitively, to do that, I don't delete this edge going along here around, because if I do that, you can see it just does a weird scoot thing all the way down, and it keeps trying to consolidate that vertex, and that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to essentially make this edge along here, this edge, one and the same. So what we actually do is we delete the edge between them, like this. And so in that way you can kind of make this work. It is not it is not exactly a perfect science. But of course, you know, you are still left with that line. So if you left the line in the pattern, you could do an overlay, just, you know, add another piece of foam on there if that's the way you want to do it. Pepakura does have options in that way. But we are instead going to see... I'm wondering, do I have... No, I don't want to save the changes to this. I want to open... Gosh, do I have a model that could do what we're describing? Do I have a model with a fin like that? The Mystic Maker. Why do you need templates for your stupid foam helmets? That doesn't seem very nice. That, I'm not really sure what you're getting at. I feel like you're trying to ask why people make helmets out of foam instead of, like, cardboard or cardstock and fiberglass, but because it's really fun, it's pretty easy to do, and it gets lots of people into the hobby. It's a lot of fun. So, yeah. It's a weird energy to bring in here. Let's see here. Okay, let's see. Nope, this one doesn't have a visor or a mohawk. Oh, cardstock and fiberglass gets messy fast. It is hard to do, and this isn't me disparaging, you know, anybody here. It's just really difficult. I'm trying to find a... I suppose in many ways this model here might be a good example. This is actually the base helmet templates that I used to make our recent collab with Diabolical Props here. Let's see. Let's reset all the cut line edges. I suppose in many ways this does have a fin, if you will, but it's just in the middle of the helmet rather than over the top. So let's see if we can go about turning this raised face along the brow here. Here, I wonder if we can... Yes, this raised face along the brow here into a flat face along the whole model. Let's see. I haven't tried to do this before in Pepakura, but let's give it a shot here. Let's see. Let's delete. Let's just start doing what we were doing before, where we're deleting those edges that separate it from the base model. And we'll see how well this comes together. Because see, this one doesn't want, this one wants to sort of wedge together outward rather than inward. Ooh. So if it's kind of working. Let's, oh my goodness. Let's try. Oh, can I see in there? There it is. I'm trying really hard to see the actual edge I'm trying to grab here. Let's see. I'm grabbing that. Going across here. So I suppose if you have just a flat raised face and you sort of delete all the edges separating it from a raised section. Here we go. Oh, this is a little wonky, but I think we're getting somewhere close. You know, actually, I think I need to delete these as well because it's trying to push it out. There we go. Yep. Okay, so we could hypothetically end up with something that just sort of... Oh, come on. Come on. I'll zoom way, way, way in here. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so it's not perfect. I might actually... Oh, I really want to... You know what? I'm going to do something here. Let's just embrace modeling in Pepakura. Let's just scoot these edges in. Call it a mulligan if we must. Scoot that in. It's not perfect, but it'll work here. What are these extra faces it has created? I'm not sure exactly where that is, but it appears to have created just an extra floating face here. There we go. Woo! There we go. But now it is all sort of one place. So I guess you could, hypothetically, in Pepakura, if you really wanted to, just go through and delete all the offending edges. And the neat thing about this method is that you still have all those detail lines of where that goes. See, I'll go through, I'll highlight them here. You can, no, it doesn't want to highlight that one for some reason. I'd probably need to dig into why in another place. But you can see, if you go through here, you still got all that detail. And you could probably do it. I don't know if it's the way I would go about doing it. This feels like a long way to go where you could just draw that line. But it's possible. It's possible in Pepakura. I would probably sooner do this in Blender if I really wanted to do it to the 3D. But there it is. Matthias, I sincerely believe you are my teacher. Thank you. Thank you very much. The Mystical Maker. I normally try to do freehand with cardboard, but I'll use templates every once in a while. Yeah, no, actually, I've seen some people do some very good work with my templates in cardboard. There's a dude, I think his channel is Carton Art Props, or maybe it's just Carton Art, but he's been doing my Stormtrooper and my Vader out of cardboard and paper mache. And they're looking really, really nice. He's actually approached me about some more templates to use, so I think he's probably going to try some more stuff out of cardboard there. I would love to see you challenge yourself on making a mashup cosplay helmet or something that mashes two fandoms together, like a Bat Mandalorian or an ARC Trooper Captain America. Oh, that's fun. The Bo-Katan templates are in our free folder. I could probably link our public templates down below. I'm pretty sure they're public. Either that or they're on my Patreon. I need to double check. No, Blender's a whole nother beast. RJR Productions helmets. I'll have to check that out. Neat. Let's see. Let's see here. What other questions can we cover? Somebody was asking a question the other day. I'm trying to remember what it was, because I remembered getting asked it a lot. Oh man. Now I am spinning my wheels, and I'm trying to remember. I'm trying. Oh gosh. I think somebody had asked me how to go about doing symmetry in Pepakura. And there's a weird way to go about making things symmetrical. Because you can, of course, just follow your own lines. Like I created these guidelines, split it down the middle, and then try to make sure everything was good and flush and even. But for some models that are like designated as symmetrical, I don't remember if I did that for this model. Let's 3D menu, edit model, specify cut line edges. Here we go. Select symmetrical pair. Here we go. So this model is symmetrical. You can actually save time by selecting the same line on both sides. And that's just another way to cut down on the amount of time it takes to do any particular part of this. Very, very easy, small ways to just, get it did faster. It's 7:51, and I think I've answered a lot of the questions I get a lot. I remember there was one other one that came up on our Discord recently that we were able to solve over text chat, but I wanted to show off because it can be very hard to explain. So if we are looking at all of these lines here, and suddenly they're not there, one of the easiest culprits to check is if you've accidentally got your template set to hide edges that are nearly flat and it's just ramped all the way in one direction. Because, maybe your Pep is defaulted to that, or maybe you had it that way in the past. But all you got to do is just open that back up and add all those lines back in. And I do add those lines because I hide all the lines that aren't necessary for a build. Do I ever find that my templates don't work? I have so I have done this in the past, and I've created templates that really just don't work. And it's a bummer when it happens. It's a huge bummer when your templates just don't really work, and you're not sure why, and, things aren't, maybe it's the shape, maybe it's, you don't know what. And I haven't had that happen for some time. Some of it's because I've gotten better at what I do, and I'm pretty good at guessing a lot of shapes, and usually if something's not working, it's because the method was wrong, not necessarily like the overall template. But let's say, trying to think of something I've got nearby that is a good example of this. Let's see. Here's a pretty decent example. So these are an old set of muscle templates that I put together. I got a new one that's much better. But for me, this one was really rough because I was trying to get it to show up underneath a shirt. Now, this doesn't fit me anymore. I'm a lot bigger now than when I made these, which I think was in high school. But these things, I wound up having to do all sorts of weird grinding and shaping on because the shape just wasn't right. There's a huge line cut in the middle here because I needed to smush it together more and make it more cupped that way. And I don't know. I'm a big believer that if you're neck deep in a project, if you're this far into a project, it's usually better to try and adjust what you're doing rather than start from scratch. But if you're just in the templating phase and your things are pretty loose, I like to be able to go back and fix my templates. I mean, for the Clone Commandos that we put together a while back, that was, I made several versions of this before I arrived at the final. And I did go back and update those templates. They're for sale on my Etsy store. And that's a huge deal for me, is going back and saying, oh, these templates can be improved. I will go back and improve them. And, maybe I don't benefit from it, maybe I do, but maybe somebody benefits from that, and that's a huge deal to me. Would you make something from Power Rangers? I actually released a file on my Patreon some time ago that was from Power Rangers. Let me see if I can pull that up. I bet you at least somebody here will get a kick out of just taking a look at that real quick. Let's see here. I've never really done anything from Ninja Turtles. I see a lot of people do Ninja Turtles. This is going to sound weird and perhaps vaguely artsy. I don't know if I'll wind up doing something from Ninja Turtles because I don't know if I can add anything to that realm. And I don't personally want to cosplay as a Ninja Turtle. So it would just be sitting around and probably not on display because I love the Ninja Turtles, but I don't know if that would be something I'd be super jazzed about displaying, Let's see here. Yeah, I did a Green Power Ranger a little bit back. Let's see. Let's take a look at those templates. They turned out pretty nice, from what I remember. Yeah, there they are. I did a lot of fun shaping on this model, but what we wound up with was this guy right here. Sorry, being late and I can't stay for tonight. That's hilarious. When using the Smooth Curve Lines tool, sometimes it makes like a channel next to it. How can I avoid that? Why don't you shoot me an email at foamarmory@gmail.com. I don't tend to give stuff out, very publicly, but if you want to talk to me, go ahead and talk to me. But yeah, this is a Power Ranger helmet that I worked on a little while back. I was really happy with the way these templates turned out. This is actually super simple. You can see I did something sort of akin to what we were trying to talk about before, Melina, which is I abutted the gray pieces to the green piece, so you can either overlay them or just do them as cutout details, and that all works out very, very well. There we go, and you can see a lot of this has been simplified into one large piece there. Let's see here. So, I think I know what you're describing, Melina, when we're talking about the Smooth Lines tool. I'm going to open something with a pretty decent curve to it and see if I can... Nope, that's not going to work. Let's try this. Okay, so let's say I wanted to use the Smooth Lines here, the Subdivision Tool, as it's called. We'll reset these cut line edges. Let's say I was unhappy with how smooth a line is, say, across the top of the helmet here. We go to Edit Menu, Subdivide Edges, and we will just draw a line because for some reason, I want this line to straighten out and be smooth. So I go bop, 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 bop. For some reason, I want to smooth this line out. Now, sometimes I've ramped this down too far, so the divide limit's really small, and it creates a ton of parts. We don't want that. I will definitely go in and fine-tune that, so we'll say, I'm probably going to bump this up to like 10. I don't want to smooth it that much. But I do want to smooth it. But it creates a little bit of a dip down. This can be avoided somewhat. Obviously, the larger your limit in Subdivision, if I ramp this all the way up to 25, obviously that dip isn't going to be quite as severe, but of course it's also not going to smooth those lines out very much. The problem with trying to fully eliminate that slight dip, if I'm just doing one line, is that ultimately what the Subdivision tool is attempting to do is attempting to add more segments to this line to create a straighter line between the two end points. And what that means is that if I just keep doing this forever, eventually it's going to try its very best. Here, we'll just do this a few more times just to see how gnarly this is. Eventually what it'll try to do is create a totally straight line between those points. See how this created a really deep groove in the middle of this bucket. And obviously we don't want that. Now there's not necessarily a way to fully fix that. I will sort of highlight that if you do this to, say, more than one edge along here at once, like let's say we were sane and wanted to do this across the bucket a couple of times, I could say do a few of these in a row, like this. And what you will end up with is, rather than a groove right in the middle of all that, you'll end up with, say, a series of lines that smooth together. And that'll help fix this problem you're having of, like, a weirdly deep groove right in one spot. But there's no way to completely eliminate that problem because, by definition, what you're trying to do is create a smooth groove there. So you kind of have to wrestle with it. But yeah, you can see that does sort of smooth it out there. But there is still just a subtle dip, and there's no way to totally eliminate that because you are actually asking for a dip. Oh gosh, and with that, it is 8:01, and it has been a hell of a stream. I want to thank everybody for popping in. I want to thank Big Time Gaming Clan for being late and not being able to stay long, but wanting to let us know that they were late and, they couldn't stay long. I want to thank everybody who asked questions, because this has been a really fun talkback live stream. And, ain't that what it's all about, honestly. I do want to give a huge shout out to my patrons. They've all had the access to these templates, in advance, and they get, some extra files and whatnot. And, they help support this channel in a way that I really appreciate, and all that money does go back into the channel. So again, thank you to K-Snake, Sam the Man, Suit Up Props, Benjamin Stanley, Laura, Ruben, Matt G, Pan Dulce, and of course Austin of AJ Plays Piano. Really, really big thank you to you guys. This has been a really great stream. Have I watched Invincible, and can I make Robot's head? Maybe. And maybe. Who knows? For now, thanks so much for watching. As always, I've been Jaden for Foam Armory. Please take care, everybody.